I think that the first times I was really got into it was I was about 10 years old, 11 years old, where I saw the stuff on the subways, and I'm like, what's that? You know, I didn't know, I couldn't formulate what it was, but I saw, you know, the tags, and then living where we were living at, you see the tags in the hallways, you know, and then as I got a little older, some of the guys that were living in the projects were doing it. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. And you know, me being into art, always painting and drawing, I just put two and two together. In terms of like the writers that I really gravitated to, Padre, Ritu, Mitch 77, Lee, Billy 167. Those style pieces resonated in my head. What really I focused on when I was a kid was early anime and Marvel Comics. DC Comics wasn't for me. Marvel Comics was what I thrived on. All those things sort of like put my feet where they are now. The way I paint is very collage-y. As a kid, I was always into collages, and you know, it's sort of like incomplete stories. And the paintings that I do, you know, to today are like that. It's like on any given day, things will happen to you, and it might be you wake up in the morning and you bang your head against the wall. Okay, then you know you're driving home, you get a flat tire. Then you go to a restaurant and the food was good, amazing. You get a phone call from one of your old friends, and you know, and you're reminiscing. So all these things become a story for the day. So I tend to like paint that way. So there'll be fragments of part of a woman's face, letters, because letters are very big to me. Then I might paint part of a subway L or front of a car, or you know, so different things that can mold a story. And on any given day, that painting will look different to you. You know, something will pop up more, something might be less. So that I get from Jasper Johns. Jasper Johns, he paints where there's different things happening on any given painting, and on any given day, you can see something different. And what I like the way he works is he can use the same subject matter 15 different times, and each painting is different, you know, because he's not finished with the subject. So he'll paint it and it becomes something different. Letters and eyes figure really prominently in my work, and letters is because that's where it comes from, graffiti, the letters, but also very early on, I realized that my name lends itself to pop art. So like if you look at early pop art, like someone like Lichtenstein, where he does a painting with a fist and the word pow. So crash relates to that, just not the name, but the sound, or like a. So like the early paintings I was doing were making reference to the crash as a pop art vehicle. And then regarding the women's eyes, we used to do really big paintings in the like from about 83 to about 89, 90. The art world was consumed with like big pieces, and that also, you know, was something that we related to because we used to paint really big. I mean, the subways were a big platform to paint. So I like the idea of doing big paintings. So I used to always paint women's faces or men's faces, you know, like from comic books, and then like put the letters through it and create like this dimension. But then as I started painting smaller, and the reason why I painted smaller was just because painting large is physically demanding. So to do something smaller, I started cropping the paintings more, and it became more where part of the woman's eye, part of her lips, part of her nose were becoming smaller. And it's funny because if you actually take a small painting of mine and you put it against a big piece, it looks like it fits in it. It's like ripped off. So the eye is actually the same size, like on this piece, with a smaller piece. It's just that it's cropped, so you don't see as much. Most of my paintings are done in spray paint. I try and stay true to the way we began. Doesn't mean that I don't work with any other mediums. I do like a lot of watercolors, and the reason why watercolors and acrylics, I do them, it happened because in 1993, I mean, I was doing stuff before then, but in 1993, we had like a really severe winter where it was just like ice storm upon ice storm. And I didn't want to just drive from my house to studio to paint, only to like go back 3 hours later and then deal with all the ice. I'm like, you know what, this is crazy. So I bought a bunch of watercolors and a bunch of acrylics and small canvases. And I just started doing, watercolors. I mean, I have watercolors from the 80s, but I started realizing, I don't need to be in my studio spray painting to communicate what I want to communicate. It also pushes you to get out of your comfort zone and try other things, So it's worked out. It's funny, you would think it would be earlier, but now all of a sudden I'm starting to do all this public work, and it's interesting because there's recognition, like people are starting to realize that what we're doing 35 years ago was for real. I mean, 1980 now, we're talking about 37 years. I mean, I've been painting for about 40 years. That's a lifetime and a half. And people are starting to realize and recognize that what we were doing then and what we're doing now, was valid, was real. So the fact that they have us now, people are asking us to do all these public works, it's funny because it's sort of like taking it back to where we came from.